Let's get back to the subject of Ukraine. Let's talk to Hamish de Bretton Gordon. He's a former British Army colonel and joins us. Good morning to you, Hamish.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. 1,000 days yesterday we marked the invasion of Russian invasion of Ukraine, and we've seen big developments in recent days. The decision by the Americans to finally allow long-range missiles to be used by them. Likely we're going to see the permission given by Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron over in Europe for our long-range missiles. We saw 6 of those actually being fired into Russian territory, and now talk of an escalation by Russia, saber-rattling. We've had Medvedev, a big ally of President Putin, talking about this is World War III. How scared should we be that we are entering possible nuclear escalation and World War III?
Well, Julia, good morning. I think, first of all...
Yeah, on that happy note, sorry, yes.
Absolutely, we should not. And I hope that Starmer and other European leaders are not. Putin issued his new nuclear doctrine yesterday, but it's absolutely no change from the doctrine they produced in 2014, even in 2022. Putin reiterated what he would use weapons of mass destruction for, and in simple terms, it is if somebody takes and holds Russian ground. Now, Ukraine has taken and hold Russian ground for months now, and absolutely nothing has happened. Yeah. There's lots of talk about his tactical nuclear weapons, these smaller ones be used. But now that Ukraine has ATACMS and hopefully soon Storm Shadow, I would contest they are unusable, because it takes about 24 hours for the Russians to tee up these launchers. They only have a range of 400 miles. They'd have to be right on the Ukraine border, and they would be taken out. And the final thing on this, Julia, just think, if Russia did fire a small, although they're still massive, tactical nuclear missile into Ukraine, as Peskov and Medvedev and others are suggesting, it would elicit an overwhelming conventional response from NATO. And Putin knows what happens when the UK, the US and France get together. Iran fired 300 plus missiles at Israel and everyone was knocked out of the sky. Now, Putin knows that that is probably what would happen if he fired
it'd be a total humiliation. Can we go back?
Absolutely.
Can we go back to, you say you're talking about a tactical nuclear weapon, a small nuclear weapon, and one of my callers are just asking, what do you mean by that? Look, we're not talking about him, bombing Kyiv like Hiroshima or Nagasaki, are we? What would be the impact of a tactical nuclear weapon? I know you're an expert in biological, chemical weaponry. You've been involved in all of that overseas on behalf of the British Army. So what would that actually involve? What would that damage? How many people would that kill? What would be the long-term impact? Can you tell us?
It would be a huge impact, that's for sure. These are about 2 to 5 kilotons, 2 to 5,000 tons of conventional explosive, but they only have a range of about 400 miles. So places like Kyiv and Lviv are well out of range, and it takes so long for them to set them up. That's why I think we would interdict them. But certainly it would have an impact on the ground, the radiation, the fallout, etc., etc. But Putin is he might be a megalomaniac and a tyrant, but he doesn't want the end of his regime. He wants to replicate Peter the Great. He wants to replicate Soviet Union. But if it's devastated, that won't happen. So I just hope Starmer and the others hold firm here, give the Storm Shadow. Your point before the break was absolutely spot on. We need Ukraine on the front foot for the end of January, when we're understanding that Trump is going to go for a ceasefire. And if it's a ceasefire on Ukraine's terms, fine. And my personal view is whoever holds Kursk by Christmas will be in the front foot. And the final bit, at the moment, Russia's got 50,000 troops, including 10,000 North Koreans, in assembly areas ready to attack into Kursk. They are absolutely sitting ducks for Storm Shadow and ATACMS. Yeah. And presumably they'll know it. So if we unshackle them, they can prevent that happening. Ukraine will be on the front foot, and hopefully we'll get a decent ceasefire in January.
And this is the frustrating thing is, I'm an armchair journalist. You've actually been, and actually in real wars. But the thing I find so frustrating is this: we've helped Ukraine, we talked a good game, we've shown solidarity in inviting Zelensky to parliaments and Congress and all of that, but giving him just enough help to prevent a Russian victory, but never enough help, never enough on time, never soon enough to allow him to have a victory over the Russians. Is there help that we could give him without, you know, British, American, French, NATO boots on the ground, our own men and women are risking their lives on the ground in Ukraine, which is something that all of the Western leaders have ruled out? Is there help that we could give that would enable Ukraine to win this? So when Donald Trump says he wants to end the war, we could end the war. We could end the war with a Ukrainian victory and a Russian defeat. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it is. But you put your finger on the issue here. It's about political decision-making against military strategy. And what's been demonstrated here, politicians always like to make decisions at the last possible moment, thinking about their own survival, probably more of others. Biden now knows he's out. So in a way, he can make any decisions he like. It won't affect him. Whereas still people like Starmer and others are thinking, God, you know, what's going to happen in 4 years' time? So that's the decision making. Make it early. But your point, can we win the? Well, if you go back to my analogy about Iranian Iranian missiles, why can we shoot down Iranian missiles fired at Israeli cities, but we can't shoot down Russian missiles fired at Ukrainian cities, killing innocent people? And you know, I'm not a fighter pilot. I'm not an expert there, but I'm pretty sure British jets and American jets from outside Ukraine or Russian airspace can take these missiles down. And of course, if we do that, Russia loses all the advantage it's currently got, and Ukraine will then be in a stronger position to negotiate a peace on its terms.
And we're constantly told, oh, well, that, you know, that will escalate the war, and then, you know, will be NATO will effectively be at war with Russia. Russia has said repeatedly they believe that it's NATO is at war with Russia. So, you know, what's the difference? Always so good to talk to you. Hamish de Bretton Gordon, former British Army colonel. Thank you so much for your time.